Hello everyone, I want to welcome you to my YouTube channel. This is Steve coming back with another video for the machine language project. And what I've done together today is I put together a presentation for you in PowerPoint. So I hope you enjoy this. So the purpose of a PowerPoint presentation is to bring vision to a project in general. A lot of people use them to kind of explain ideals and articulate thoughts and just get feedback from people and basically show the research you've done. And that's the whole purpose of this project, is to show you kind of what I put together, and we'll kind of append to it as we go along. So obviously it's the Commodore 64 machine language project by Steve Morrow and the C64 project team, which is, still evolving as we speak. So, the vision of the project. Now, I set an expected project start date for Friday, December 2nd, 2016, although originally I said it might be next year. This is because I've noticed that my very basic tutorial is close to completion. So, my vision for this project is to enhance a deeper understanding of how the Commodore 64 works from a memory perspective and increase my understanding of the semi-language as well as the other groups. It is also my hope that the viewers and contributors will greatly benefit from this experience as we blend our knowledge together to create an outstanding demo and possibly a game. It is easy enough to say that we want to create a game to broadcast on YouTube, and quite another to actually accomplish it. We don't want to start something and drop out when something is complicated. Therefore, it is our inspiration to follow through this to the end as if we were going to sell it as a product. Having a plan for the project. One of the things necessary for a project to survive and go the distance is having a plan or storyline that describes in vivid details the essentials of the demo or game. So I am determined to work hard until an acceptable storyline is in place. I will take reviews of it by my audience, YouTube, and see if it needs any modification. Now, I totally understand that every project requires remission, and I'm totally for that. After all, no product is perfect the first time around. Also, in order for the product to grow, a lot of research is necessary. I will continue to Google ideas, articles, books, videos, etc., and add my discoveries to the slideshow. Having conducted an intense research will result in the success of this project. First, I'd like to show you some game screenshots that could help us visualize what components are needed within the demo or game. These are just some of the examples I found online, but this can be edited as we expand this project. I especially like the colors of these screenshots and graphic art. The next screen will demonstrate the examples I found currently for the Commodore 64. So here's our first game example. This example includes some detailed graphics. Notice how the colors properly stand out with the darker background. Also, this example doesn't contain a complicated display panel, such as for the score, lives, etc., as is usually custom for many games at the bottom of the screen. Rather, instead, it utilizes screen space respectively. Here's example number 2. This game is interesting in other ways. First of all, the display panel is simple, you see it at the top, but provides enough information to assist the game players. It also has some nice design, like the pipes, but other things, like the ladder, are of a simple design. The black background provides the game with a richer art emphasis. Kind of makes it stand out a little bit. Game example 3. This game example contains some very rich detail in both color and art. It also has a fancy display panel at the bottom to keep it interesting. Observe how the colors don't collide with overlapping objects. It takes good advantage of keeping too much detail out of an area. For example, look at the separation of the pipes, doors, etc. I like this example. And it just really, in my opinion, it really just seems to separate, the characters from the background and the sprites. And it gives them kind of a 3D look, sort of, in a way. I just think it kind of is interesting. There's a lot of Commodore games that actually follow this example. We'll continue on here. So here's game example 4. This example has a large display panel. Notice how the countdown timer stands out for the player. Also, the graphics are simple at best, but are recognizable. The game sprites appear to have interesting detail. Once again, a black background contrasts the overall illusion of this game to bring out the colors. And this one's also interesting, and you can kind of see how the display panel looks at the top. It's got a redefined character set in it, and you can kind of see, looks like that might be the timers or something in the red dots there. I'm not exactly sure of that, but I thought that was interesting. Here's the next one, game example 5. This game doesn't utilize a lot of color, but instead adds detail to make it stand out from the objects that can be interacted with, such as the ladders, pipes, etc. It also uses a simple display panel for the score, lives, and so on. What I found interesting most of all is how it separates detail from other objects, surrounded by the black areas, to emphasize the detail, such as with the caves. And if you look at that, you can kind of see how the caves are drawn, but they're only in one color, and the ladders are in one color. So we've basically got a lot of one color going on here, but because it's separated from the black background, it kind of makes it stand out so you can kind of see what it looks like. It doesn't, if you kind of tried to put something in the background there, it would kind of, clash with it, so to speak. That's why multicolor is important for where you position it on the screen. So, these screenshots can provide some suggestions on the type of art that can be used and some of the sprite characters that could be implemented into our project. The goal here is to brainstorm Commodore 64 game screenshots to create a completely new environment. This is obviously going to require a very good graphic designer, so I will be recruiting for this. Also, we have some contributors already that can submit their own work as well. One of my favorite games thus far for the C64 is Metal Warrior. Ever since I was introduced to this game, I have really been taken by the rich graphic detail, soundtrack, music, and replay value. It would be awesome to reenact a similar demo or game. So here's that Metal Warrior screenshot, and this is from Metal Warrior 4. So finally we present a game called Metal Warrior 4. Notice how the inner game scene does not conflict with the outside graphics. I have a lot of respect for this artist since he doesn't add excessive detail in specific sections, but instead utilizes screen space effectively with a tiling effect. It also contains a simple display panel that even leaves room for game messages, score, and the player's health. And I'm referring to the message where it shows "Where am I?" at the bottom of the screen there. If you basically don't allow enough room, you wouldn't have enough room for the messages in this game. So he's basically kind of minimized and moved the score over to the side, and instead of kind of centering it, and he moved the health over to the side. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And it basically allows more room for the graphic detail of the game, so you can see more of, what you're playing, and make it more of an entertainment for anybody. Brainstorming about objects, environment, and so on. As I learned in college, brainstorming is the key to unraveling real problems. Therefore, I find it important to really collect thoughts together and write out ideas in hopes of introducing concepts that could be included in the project. New ideas can shift and change frequently, but what is of most necessity is capturing those ideas and keeping them stored for later project implementation. Here are some of the brainstorming scenarios I arrived at recently. As always, these can be modified as the project begins to evolve. So the first thing I've listed here is the items, which are also known as the objects. And a list of the items we have here are like the ladders, platforms, stairs, keys, teleporter, barrels, pipes, torch, and so on. Items provide the player with something to walk on, climb, or interact with. Here's a list of some of the common items I found in various games. Many items, such as keys, can be used to unlock hidden rooms. Think of Super Mario Bros. To treasure or secret battles, etc. A torch can light dark passages. The ideas are only limited by one's imagination. Stats. So the stats I've listed here are like your score, your health, the enemy health, power-ups, spells and potions, items in inventory, and so on. Stats are a very important element of gameplay since they keep track of a player's score, health, any power-ups, spells, potions, etc. Having a good supply of stats keeps the player fixed on a common goal, which is usually to beat the highest score or win the game. Buildings. So some of the buildings listed here are a city building, an inn, a warehouse, a castle, an alien building, a spaceship, and I just thought of a farm and maybe a basketball court. Well, basketball court probably wouldn't apply, but like a farmhouse or something. Buildings provide access for protection from enemies, level access, script stages, rest areas such as an inn. You see those in medieval games. And often provide entry into trouble, such as entering a warehouse where a gang is hiding. They also create a nice backdrop for a game. Environments. Some of the environments I've listed here are trees, rocks, cliffs, mountains, caves, rivers, holes, volcanoes, bridges. No matter what type of game you choose to play, often there is an environment to provide depth to the game. A player could be traveling through a forest, up a mountain, into a cave, across a river, walking on a bridge, etc. A great environment is attractive and can often enhance gameplay. Challenges. Some of the challenges listed here are jumping from platform to platform, fighting, which includes combat with an enemy, sliding, which is down a hill or on ice, falling, like off a ledge, dodging enemy blows, objects, falling from above, etc., or puzzles, which are the logic twist to the game. A game would be boring without any challenges. Therefore, I have included a few challenges that I have witnessed in several games. This list can be appended as the project evolves. The importance of adding a challenge is to keep a player engaged and entertained. Enemies. Some of the enemies I've seen in games are snakes, tarantulas, wolves, bats, aliens, warriors, military soldiers, birds, dragons, robots, aliens, and so on. A game would not be conclusive without enemies to challenge the player. Even a simple game can have a complex enemy, one that often pursues a player relentlessly and has a high attack rate and damaging blows. The goal here is smart AI, that's artificial intelligence, to keep a player transfixed on a mission, but still allow breathing room. Weapons. Some of the weapons I've listed here are handgun, shotgun, rocket launcher, hammer, knife, sword, laser gun, blowtorch, arrow. Without weapons, a game would have no value since a player could not defend himself, save for a fist punch, if you remember the game Doom or Duke Nukem 3D, which was common with those. Having the proper combat tools is necessary to keep enemies at bay and advance through levels or traps set by the enemies. Commodore 64 desktop tools. A project cannot exist without some good tools. Therefore, I have listed several tools that will be included. These tools help build the project, create the art, maps, sprites, music, etc. As this project advances forward, newer tools will likely be introduced. For now, however, these tools can get the job done effectively. CBM PRG Studio. This tool is very popular among the Commodore 64 community and will be used for this project. It includes the typical debugger, assembler, and compiler. It allows code written in both BASIC and machine language. One of the other nice features is the ability to launch Vice after a compile and get other memory dumps as necessary. It also includes a sprite editor, character editor, screen editor, and even a SID tool for music generation. And it's not too complicated to use. For people who are new and getting on with the project, really it's just a matter of creating and then adding to the code and knowing how the formatting goes whenever you're writing and coding, stuff like that. Vice C64 emulator. And you see a screenshot here, of course. The Vice C64 emulator became very popular among the Commodore 64 community for its relatable interface that simulates a Commodore 64 environment. It also includes the ability to attach disk image files, D64, that can be loaded into the game with either a click or in BASIC using the load, you put the program name, '8 statement. This tool can also recognize whenever a device is plugged in, such as an Xbox controller. I could go on, but this is not a Vice tutorial. However, I felt it was necessary to discuss Vice for those who have never seen it before. It is one of the most essential foundations of this project. SPRITEPAD. This is a great sprite editor that allows you to design a sprite and export it into a file that can be read by a program. SPRITEPAD also allows rotation of sprites, moving pixel capability, masking, animation, and so much more. When the sprite is complete, you can save it as a PRG file or raw data, which can then be loaded directly into a program such as CBM PRG Studio. You can also do it directly in Vice too. So you can kind of see at the top here the icons, so the arrows going below the menu where it says File Edit Tools. Those are the rotation tools, and then you have, or the shifting tools, and you have the rotation tools which are closer there to the center, and they look like two arrows in a circle. And it's also got, I didn't mention, but it's got multicolor capability. At the bottom there, you see where it says Pen. You have to make sure multicolor mode is selected there, the checkbox on the left. And once that's selected, you can go ahead and you can select those colors individually, and then click on those colored boxes below to change the colors individually for the multicolors. There's a sprite color which stands by itself, and then there's two of the multicolor 1 and multicolor 2. So, really interesting things. And you can also remove the grids by clicking on the show grid lines about halfway down the center of the screen there toward the bottom. And the quantity where it says 50, if you change that number and increase it, you can add more sprites to it, or you can decrease it. Like right now, it's currently set to 50, and you notice the scroll bar over to the right side there, which manages that. Character Pad. This tool allows you to create and load your own game maps. The picture presented here is taken from the Metal Warrior 4 Commodore 64 game. It also contains the character set data, so you can edit the tiles to your preference. It is also possible to scroll through the maps you have created. And I've used this in games in the past, the Spaced Out game I was working on, because you can create giant maps inside of the windows there, and you can scroll them, left, right, up, and down to create an entire world once you get it, basically loaded into the game properly. So really cool there, even at the top where it shows character set there, it separates the tiles, and you can go in, you can click on them and, change them out. Probably don't see it here, but you can also get a list. Oh, actually that is it right there, the character set. The tile set, you can actually see the individual tiles that be laid and overlaid on the screen there. And this one uses, I believe it's 4x4 tiling. So really interesting the way they lay it out and they create the more depth to the graphics. Your feedback, comments. I am looking forward to hearing your feedback for the overview of this project. If you have any ideas, I'd like to hear them. After all, this is essentially your project since you are the audience. A successful project is not constructed by one person, but rather by a large number of individuals. I will be waiting for your feedback in the YouTube comments. I hope you enjoyed this brief introduction. I will be sharing more as I continue the documentation and my research. Thank you for watching. So there you have it. That's the first PowerPoint presentation I put together. And like I said, I'll continue to add to it, implement it as we continue to evolve through this experience. So everything else has been out there, just waiting for your feedback. And please always like, favorite, and subscribe. I really appreciate your support and looking forward to hearing everything you guys have to say about this and where we're going to kind of go for it. What ideas are going to be constructed, whether it's, we're going to start off as a game. We could probably just set maybe one simple level. That wouldn't be entirely a game. It would actually be a simulation or like a demo. And then from there, maybe we could evolve into a game or something. But we'll see and play it as we go by ear and as we continue along here. So, yep, guys, I appreciate it very much. And share this video with your friends. And let's keep the Commodore 64 rocking. Have a good day.